You may have read the great devotional that's been around for years, The Daily Bread. Well, one of the authors had written about Flight 191. You may have remembered that flight that crashed and 254 people died. And he wrote about in this morning devotional that goes out, he said that how one person escaped death. They were supposed to get on the plane, they didn't, and all that hoopla that happens sometimes at the airport. And so one of the readers who read the devotion wrote to the author and said, could you explain to me something? That even though that person was delayed where they were getting the plane, there was a pastor who hurried to make the flight, and he made it, and he died. He was a pastor of a Presbyterian church in California. And his wife wrote and actually said at the funeral that she's not going to be bitter about other people not making the flight and her husband making the flight, because listen, death causes us to do that. Let's just be honest. Death causes us to ask those questions. Why my husband? Why my wife? Why my child? Why my mother? Why my father? Why this person? That's normal. You're not a bad Christian if that has ever come into your heart and your mind. But like this wife, this is a tremendous statement that she made. She says, I realized that my husband wasn't running to catch the plane. He was running to catch heaven. And that is that's remarkable peace there. That's understanding God's time. That she understood that, yeah, maybe other people didn't catch the plane and this person did and they lived. And look at them being happy and having Christmas and this and that. And now my husband's gone, 4 children and grandchildren in a church that we've pastored for years. And what about my husband? But she realized he wasn't catching a plane. He was catching heaven. And see, that's the big picture with God's peace. That's why God's peace is better than circumstances. That's why God's peace is better than cars and boats and houses and promotions. God's peace is connected to eternity. And that's far greater than this world. Did not Jesus delay his coming to Lazarus? John 11:6 reveals that. He could have gotten there sooner. Look at the grammar. He purposely delayed. Lazarus died. There was a bigger point message there. It was about eternity, wasn't it? Because he was teaching these women, yes, you're grieving. Yes, certainly. He could have healed them from where? He could have healed them from a lounge chair if he wanted to. That wasn't the point. The point was that he has power and victory over death. And when he got there, he rose Lazarus from the dead. That was the point. And he said, do you believe this? Though one day we're going to die, we shall live. And yet this pastor crashed with the other 253 people on the plane. But his wife understood that he was going to heaven. I got news for you. No security lines when you get there. And I'm sure that the family, of course, will continue to grieve until they're reunited in heaven. But God's peace reminded this widow and these children and these grandchildren and their congregation that this pastor was catching a flight to heaven. You know, one day we're all going to die. You might say, I went to church, the pastor's talking about death. That's a reality. But we don't even have to fear that because of Christ. That's perfect peace. That's the perfect peace God talks about.